Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Colorado State hit with unsportsmanlike penalty when fans throw snowballs. Erdogan opts for a low-key celebration of Turkey's 100th anniversary as a secular republic. Netanyahu says war entering second stage as Israeli troops push into Gaza. Milton, Wright, Sampson Power No. 21 Tennessee to a 33-27 win over Kentucky. No. 19 Air Force overcomes snowballs in 30-13 win over Colorado State to stay unbeaten. Colorado State hit with unsportsmanlike penalty when fans throw snowballs. Yahoo! The Air Force Academy defeated Colorado State with a score of 30-13 in a recent college football game. However, Colorado State fans were caught throwing snowballs onto the field during the game, resulting in a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Erdogan opts for a low-key celebration of Turkey's 100th anniversary as a secular republic. Associated Press. Turkey is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the creation of the modern, secular republic on October 29. However, the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has chosen a low-key celebration, which has dismayed many Turks who see it as an attempt to erase the memory of the republic's founding father, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Erdogan's government is rooted in Turkey's Islamic movement, and critics argue that it has already moved Turkey further away from Ataturk's vision. Netanyahu says war entering second stage as Israeli troops push into Gaza. Al Jazeera. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared that the country's war with Hamas has entered its second stage as Israeli troops and armored vehicles push into Gaza in an expansion of ground operations. Netanyahu stated that the goals of the offensive are to destroy Hamas's governing and military capabilities and to bring hostages home. Israeli military officials have confirmed that troops have been operating in Gaza since Friday but have stopped short of calling it an invasion. The United States has urged Israel to delay launching a major ground offensive amid concerns about civilian casualties. Milton, Wright, Sampson Power No. 21 Tennessee to a 33-27 win over Kentucky. Associated Press. The No. 21 Tennessee Volunteers defeated the Kentucky Wildcats 33-27 in a close game on Saturday night. Tennessee's Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson scored rushing touchdowns, while Joe Milton passed for a touchdown. Charles Campbell kicked 4 field goals to help secure the win for the Volunteers. Kentucky's Devin Leary had an impressive passing performance with 372 yards, but it wasn't enough to overcome Tennessee. No. 19 Air Force overcomes snowballs in 30-13 win over Colorado State to stay unbeaten. Associated Press. The No. 19 Air Force Falcons defeated the Colorado State Rams 30-13 in a game that was played in a driving snowstorm. Zach Larrier scored the go-ahead touchdown for Air Force on a 1-yard run in the third quarter, which was aided by an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the Colorado State bench due to fans throwing snowballs at the Air Force sideline. The win keeps Air Force undefeated at 8-0 for the season. As Gaza faces blackout, Israel intensifies ground campaign against Hamas in second stage of war. The Globe and Mail. Israeli forces have launched ground operations against Hamas in Gaza, which Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu describes as the second stage of a 3-week war aimed at crushing the Palestinian militant group. The Israeli military is preparing for an expanded ground offensive, while Netanyahu has pledged to spare no effort to free over 200 hostages held by Hamas. The ongoing bombing and blockade have led to a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with residents facing food and fuel shortages, as well as a near-total communications and internet blackout. A beauty who captured war's ugliness, Lee Miller's time is finally here. The Sydney Morning Herald. An exhibition of Lee Miller's work is to open at Heide Museum of Modern Art. Born in 1907 in Poughkeepsie, New York, Miller became an acclaimed war correspondent and a fine art and fashion photographer. The exhibition, Surrealist Lee Miller, will feature over 100 photographs spanning portrait, fashion, surrealist, landscape, architecture, and World War II photography. Miller's work will also be the subject of a film called Lee, starring Kate Winslet. After Miller's death, her son, Anthony Penrose, discovered 60,000 slides in the family attic. This led to Penrose's book, The Lives of Lee Miller, which Winslet's film is based on. In preparation for the film, Winslet spent time at Farley's house in Sussex, where Miller lived with her second husband, Roland Penrose. The house is now a museum filled with art made by the couple's friends, including Picasso, Max Ernst and Joan Miró. The exhibition will run from November 4, 2023 to February 25, 2024. Graham says Turkey becoming the squad of NATO. Yahoo! Lindsey Graham, a senator from South Carolina, has compared Turkey to the Squad, an informal group of House Democrats. He said Turkey is becoming the squad of NATO, and accused the country's senior leadership of being very disappointing and destabilizing. Graham linked to a Fox News article on recent comments made by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on the Israel-Hamas conflict. Erdogan called Israel war criminals, and Israel recalled its diplomats from Turkey in response. Belarus Lukashenko says Ukraine-Russia war at stalemate, urges talks. Yahoo! Alexander Lukashenko, the authoritarian leader of Belarus and an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, has called for negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to end their conflict. Lukashenko stated that the situation on the front lines is at a stalemate, with neither side able to strengthen or advance their position. He urged both sides to sit down at the negotiating table and resolve their differences to prevent further loss of life. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict through his 10-point peace plan. What would a crushing victory actually look like for Netanyahu? The Sydney Morning Herald. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that his job is to lead the state of Israel and the people to a crushing victory over our enemies in relation to the ongoing conflict in Gaza. However, the concept of victory in war can be difficult to define. Victory depends on the objectives of the conflict, and for Netanyahu, victory means the destruction of Hamas and the return of hostages. The Israeli forces involved in the conflict face a difficult urban environment and the challenge of civilians in contested areas. Ultimately, victory should include long-term political goals and the achievement of a just and durable peace. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world. Today, we have a mix of sports, politics, and art news. Let's dive right in. In college football, the Air Force Academy defeated Colorado State, but not without a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. The fans couldn't resist throwing snowballs onto the field. Talk about a chilly reception. Speaking of low-key celebrations, Turkey marked its 100th anniversary as a secular republic, but President Erdogan chose a subdued approach. Many Turks were disappointed, thinking it was an attempt to erase the memory of the republic's founding father. It seems Erdogan's government has its own vision in mind. In the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu declared that the war has entered its second stage as Israeli troops push into Gaza. The United States is urging caution due to concerns about civilian casualties. Let's hope they can find a way to bring peace to the region. On the sports front, the number 21 Tennessee Volunteers secured a close win against the Kentucky Wildcats. But it was the number 19 Air Force Falcons who triumphed over Colorado State, despite having to deal with a driving snowstorm and some mischievous fans throwing snowballs. Talk about a slippery slope. As the conflict in Gaza intensifies, Israel's ground campaign has led to a blackout in the region. The humanitarian crisis is worsening, with food and fuel shortages and a near-total communications blackout. It's a dire situation that needs to be resolved soon. Now, let's shift gears to the art world. An exhibition of Lee Miller's work, a renowned war correspondent and photographer, is set to open at the Heide Museum of Modern Art. Her captivating photographs span various genres and will be accompanied by a film starring Kate Winslet. Miller's work truly captures the beauty and ugliness of war. In politics, Senator Lindsey Graham compared Turkey to the Squad, an informal group of House Democrats. He criticized Turkey's leadership for being disappointing and destabilizing. It seems the political drama extends beyond national borders. Belarus President Lukashenko, a close ally of Putin, has called for negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to end their conflict. He believes the situation is at a stalemate and urges both sides to find a peaceful resolution. Let's hope they can reach a compromise and prevent further loss of life. Lastly, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu seeks a crushing victory over Hamas. But victory in war is a complex concept, dependent on the objectives and the achievement of long-term peace. It's not just about military might but also about finding a way to coexist. And that's a wrap for today's news. Remember, I'm not just here to share information, but to engage with you, my wonderful viewers. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any burning questions? Let's dive into the discussion and see what ideas you bring to the table. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.